So this session we are dealing with what are called joins. So joins especially are of different types like the inner joins, left outer join, right outer join, full join, and also self join. So initially before going into the detailed concept, we just take the example of what is an inner join. So let us consider two tables. One is customer with ID int and name worker 255 not null, person profession worker 255 not null. And there is a customer details table also with profession person ID int and skill set worker 255 not null and location worker 255 not null. So here we are trying to make an inner join between these customers and the customer details tables with respect to the perfect match between the ID values of the customers and person ID values of the customer details. These two being same, that is customer ID and customer details person ID being this exact same, we are snatching away customers' names, customers' profession, and customer details skill set and customer details location. So the syntax would be as such as follows. Select customers.name, customers.profession, customer details.skillset, and customer details.location. From orders, inner join customer details on. So here it's not orders, it is customers. So as we check once again, so it is customers. So customers becomes the left hand side of the table, the left hand side of the join, and customer details becomes the right hand side. And inner join is exactly the intersection point between the exact match of the ID values with respect to each of them. One is customers details and customers dot ID. The customers ID and customer details customer ID. So these two being exactly the same, we are actually snatching away some important details with respect to each of the tables. That is, with respect to exact match of the customer's ID and customer details customer ID, we are trying to extract customers from the customer's table, the name and the profession, and from the customer details table, the skill set and the location. So these two should be taken with respect to the important fact that their IDs from either table should be having an exact match with respect to that particular rows corresponding to the columns. So now we can do one thing is that we can visit the SQL Server Management Studio and we'll have an execution of these two codes. Firstly for creating and then finally making the inner joins. So we'll go to the section. So here we have the catalog database. So we can make use of. So here customers is already been created. So we will drop this one and we will create a new customer. So drop table customers, and after dropping it, we'll create a new one. We'll give a refresh of the database, make sure that customer has gone away, and yeah, now we can use the catalog database for creating this first table. We'll execute it. Yeah, it is got executed successfully. So we'll give a refresh and see the customers table has come up with ID name and profession. And similarly, we have to give the second table, customer details table, and we have to execute it. You have to make sure the fields have been given correctly. Person ID of int, skill set was at 255 not null, location was at 255 not null. We can give it execute, and we can see it got executed successfully. So we'll refresh the tree, database tree, so that we can extract the customer details table as well. So person ID skill set location is available, and for the customers, ID, name, and profession. So we'll take the first table now. We'll remove this and start inserting into the either tables. So insert into customers values. So we can make that ID first option is for the ID value. We can then name it as 101. Name we can give it as Ramesh, and profession give it as data scientist. So this is for the 101 ID value. Ramesh is the name of the person and the profession is data scientist. So we give an execution. We saw one row got affected. So we refresh the customer table and open up the customer by giving the right click top 200 rows. So we would see that this particular name is residing. So it has come up. So now we will move on putting the second name. For 102, we will name it as Suresh. We will name it as data administrator. So 102 will be for data administrator. So is one row got affected. We can refresh the table as well. So 102 has come up. So for 103, we can name it as James. We can name the profession as PHP programmer. So 103 will go for PHP programmer. So one row got affected. So we'll revisit the table and we can see it has come up. So similarly for 104, we'll name it as a Java programmer. So we'll execute it. So one row got affected. We revisit the customer table, give an execution. So it's 104 is for Java programmer. So now for the last fifth one, we give it a C# programmer and name it as we can name it as Arvind, C# programmer. This for 105. So here specifically we are interested to keep a unique names for the ID values. So we can give 105. So 105 for Arvind. So one row got affected and we go to the customer table and give an execution. So we have got for 101, 102 till 105 specific names and the professions. Now we'll revisit the trade catalog on this particular page and try to insert it into the customers details table. So once as you can see here, customer details has been extracted. Now we have to make sure that it should have person ID, skill set, and location as the entries. See here, person ID and ID should be the same. So here for 101, we can name it as skill set. We can give it as so for it was data scientist. So we can name it as we can give it some NLP and regression models. And for location with respect to this table, we can give it as Bangalore. So we can execute. So one row got affected. Similarly for 102, actually For 102, it is the data administrator. So the skill set we can give it as SQL programming. The location can be, we can name it as Chennai, and we can execute. Now for the third option, 103, that should be a match. So it is PHP programming. So we can give it as client server technology as the skill set, and it is with respect to the third table because it is PHP. So we give an execute, and for the fourth should be matched with the Java programming. So we can name it as web server technologies. So one row got affected. Now for 105 it is C# programming. As for 105 C# programming, we can give a matching pair as WCF technologies. So all the rows got affected. We'll give a close, and we'll open up this customer details table as well. We give an execution, see it is got populated correctly, and for this table also it got populated correctly. So for 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, the ID and the person ID values have exact matches. Now we have to extract the specific fields. So we give an execution of this new query window. We go back to the particular page where we have saved the joining process. So we'll copy this, come back to the query designer window. We'll call it as use catalog, then go, and then we will paste this in the join code. So we have to make sure that from the customer details is the respective match of the person ID. We have to take skill set and location. So person details, skill set, customer details, location, and from the customers we have to take the name and profession. So that should come as a part of the inner join. And so for customer's name and customer's profession. So these customer dot name, customer dot profession, customer detail dot skill set, and customer detail dot location from customers inner join customer details on customer's ID and customer details customer ID should be an exact match. So here, whether you keep the customer in the left side or customer details on the right hand side does not matter much, because it is just like a commutative factor. So we give an execution. So we are seeing that there is a customer ID column is not been mentioned anywhere. So we have to make a correct rectification. So it is actually it's a person ID here. See person ID. So we have to rectify the code. So it is person ID. So person ID. So we can give an execution now. So I is not available actually. So it got executed. So as such we can see with respect to these ID values, all the fields of matching pair has come up. It extracted Ramesh and data scientist, NLP and regression model, Suresh and data administrator, it executed SQL programming, and James PHP programmer, it took client server technology, and James Java programmer, the web server technology, and C# programming, WCF technology. So specifically with respect to each of these customer field, it took up the name and profession, and from the customer details field, it took up the skill set and location with respect to the match of the either of these ID values from our respective tables. So if you're interested to display even the ID value, that is also we can do it. We can either take the option of this one, or we can take the option of this second table and put it just before the after the select statement. So we give an execute, see even the ID value started catching up. So this is how an inner join works. So here one more important thing that we have to notice is that this in either side of the inner join we can replace customer table with customers and customers with customer table. It does not make much because here it is acting like a commutative factor. So this is the simplest example of how an inner join is working. Now we can take another example. We can take it as 106 and we can name it as here with respect to the 106 of the first table. We can keep it as 106 and we can keep it as the name as XYZ, and we can give it now, we can give the profession as financial analyst. And give an execution. So for 106 we can see that in the customer details table we will not keep any more 106 at all. We will just ignore, or we can give it as 107 and even keep the technology as API, web API technology. And give it as Bangalore, space as Bangalore. So in this case also we can see so we should be 107 API technology Chennai. So here the customer details has 107 but customers has 106, and specifically for 106 from one table and 107 from the table there is no matching ID values coming up. Hence we can see that with respect to both these tables there will be no match happening with respect to this inner query. You can give an execute anyway. See, it did not carry up. So 106 and 107 did not carry up because they are different values. So this inner join, this particular section did not trigger up. Now, if you make this into an outer join or left join, now with respect to left join, we are giving reference to the more preference to the customer. First priority will be for matching with the customer's table. So here we know that for the customer's table, 106 has something, but correspondingly for customer details, 106 is not having anything. So 106 part with respect to skill set and 106 location will be empty in the debugging section. For the left join, see. So 106, the second table had nothing. 106 itself was not there in the second table. That is customer details table, due to which the skill set and location could not be extracted. So this is how a left join is different from an inner join. And right join gives just the opposite meaning because preference goes for the right hand side of the table. So in the right hand side of the table is actually 107 is available, but for customers table the 107 is not available at all. So here when if you debug this right join section of the code, here 107 will take up the skill set something and location something, but for 107 name and profession will be empty. So we can execute and see for 107 actually the name and profession is empty because the customer tables does not have the name and profession with respect to 107 because 107 itself is absent. 107 is applicable only for skill set and location, as 107 is available in the customer details table, hence it extracted API in Chennai. So we have to see, since we have to make sure that it is 107 is coming from the customer details table, we have to rename this. We can rename it into customer details person ID. Now if you execute, we can get the answers. See, for 107, it had the skill set and location coming from the customer details table, and for 107 was absent the customers table, due to which it could not extract the name and profession. So 107 was absent for name and profession. We will verify it. See, 107 was absent for the name and profession. So this is how the left join, right join all differs. So we'll verify the left join once again. So left join, again, we know that it's giving preference to the left table. So 106, XYZ and financial asset will be available. And since 106 is absent, this skill set and location part will be blank. So we'll queue and execute. See, for 106, XYZ evaluations was present, whereas skill set and location was absent. So now again, since it's a 106 is coming from the first table, we have to substitute back with the ID of the first table before the from close. So we can execute. See 106 is coming from the first table. That is XYZ and financial analyst. And the skill set and location was not available, could not be snatched away, because 106 is not available as the ID value for the second table, that is customer details table. See, for customer details tables 106 is not available. So this is how a left join, right join, and inner joins vary with respect to each other.